Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I want to talk about doing basic empowerments, often called rituals, to empower yourself for success. And I want to talk about an issue that's come up here recently. And a lot of people have businesses or things they want to be successful at. And, it all kind of works the same. Now, business itself is a little bit different than many things. And one thing nice about business is that it's kind of very judgeable in terms of the results you're getting. Now, the results you're getting is not dependent necessarily on all the work you're doing, but in terms of tools you're using, there are many factors. Now, the laws of success I have laid out. What do you have to do? There's a book on that. What can I manifest? I've talked about this in many of my different videos of what is required to actual manifest. And people ignore this. The brainwashed problem with your understanding of manifestation, pretty much done by a lot of businesses that want to feed you a bunch of nonsense of how things manifest, promising you things to get your money. Now, I try and keep things in a realistic reality, and of course, this costs me a lot of business. Other people make all sorts of claims. It's just the absurdity of these things. Ooh, like spirits that'll have sex with you in the night. Well, incubuses who will destroy your soul and drain you to death, if that was even possible, which it isn't. But people buy these by the hundreds and all the other ghost items and all the things. I mean, people buy this stuff because they think they're getting instant empowerment, that spirits are going to come in and help them. Getting help from spirits is generally very difficult, particularly to maintain that. But moving energy around, which includes spirits and everything else, is part of it. But one of the most important things that people just don't have, no matter what particular reality you're involved in, is the channels for things to come to you. So you start a business, you do all those necessary things, all the boring stuff, bank accounts, corporations formed, whatever it is you're doing. I'm done. Where's the money? Well, it just doesn't work like that. So it's a complicated process that can take many years of developing because you don't really have any business guidance. You know nothing about it. And the, quote, new age alternative markets are quite different than regular businesses. The getting your word out, getting known, very difficult. How do you do it? Oh, social media? Well, social media doesn't really work. It never really has. Maybe if you're selling shoes, and all these influencers and people out there who work, 60 hours a week and get a free sample, it's all a con. And very few people buy to begin with. And secondly, you put a lot of free time in for virtually nothing. It's a scam. And those influencers that actually make it are usually a scam as well. They're chosen to make it. You got to remember media, whomever it is, whether it's YouTube or Google or anything, they choose who they make successful. So they're going to feature only people that they want to feature. And if there's some sort of problem or you have people working against you internally, you're not going to get places. Now, I see this constantly, particularly on YouTube, where the most lowest life ignoramus boobs are getting thousands of views while other people aren't. Why is that? Their quality, what they have to say, their delivery is garbage. So this is the way, of course, all that goes. So why is that? Well, that's because they're getting featured by YouTube. Now, this happens with all these different social medias. And social media, everybody tries to place themselves out. And as a business person, you should make sure you have all the typical social media things set up. But the bottom line is that people make money from advertising. So if you think you're going to get free stuff, which you don't, on social, they give you a free platform to make them money. And the minute you have something different or unusual, they will not bring any of your social media sites up. It just doesn't work like that. So you have to understand the ins and outs. But all of life, no matter what it's going to be, is you have to create channels to actually have ways to things to come. So what are your channels?
Oh, I'm on social media. I did a YouTube video.
That's not a good enough channel unto itself. Obviously, you want to have those channels, but the only way really to get out there is you have to either make direct contact with people that are interested in your services, or you do advertising, which is another way. What are you doing to directly pull people in or to get them to know about your product? Now, I've been doing this for 30 years in an area that has very little people following it. I have done fabulously, and I never really did any advertising whatsoever. And I was making up to $50,000 a month at one time before I was attacked by the criminal people that run this world that want to stop this kind of empowerment. But even with that and everything else, I've still done quite well, and I've never really advertised at all, and still don't to this day. I post things on YouTube as informational things. It's another social media way of getting the word out there, and I'm busy enough that is good enough for me, but not much comes from YouTube. Of course, you get a few here and there. So the whole idea is that you have to have channels of things to come to you. So, everybody wants to make lots of money. Everybody wants to meet people and do other things. Well, what are the ways they're going to come to you? So the whole idea is you push the energy out there, and how are people going to connect with that to do whatever you desire them to do, whether it's meeting people, generating money, etc. So you have to have that. Having one small channel is not going to be enough. If you have a new business, there's going to be problems as well. And it just depends on what you're into, the type of business, etc. How are you reaching people? So the whole idea is that you have to get the word out there to a particular audience. And if you're new, you probably haven't built up that audience. If you have a little following, like most people do, and even if you have a following that's kind of large, I'm amazed with people with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 so-called subscribers really have so few views. 100,000 subscribers, you got 1,000 views. Well, a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense at all. And why are some people getting views over others? Doesn't make any sense with any of it. And it all comes down to internal promotion. And you can better believe that all these companies are cutting you out of that. They're going to publicize certain individuals so they are popular, so they have that kind of one channel that they can sell to advertisers by saying, well, look, yeah, you're going on this channel that has 200,000 subscribers. If you were to say to them, well, this channel has 50,000 or so forth, most likely to do. So they're doing this for logical business reasons and because they're corrupt people as well. They are featuring certain people and not others. And a lot of this has to do with the fact of internal suppression. People pay them to suppress other people. You probably don't understand that. And all these games go on with all the big organizations, whether it's YouTube, Google, Facebook, and all these other things. There's all sorts of internal things going on, good, bad, indifferent, and of course, a lot of criminal activity that goes on in all these organizations to push other criminals who buy them or threaten them, or both. So if you're living in a world that you think things are done by your business skill and the great product you have, well, join the line of millions of bankrupt companies that had great products that never got anywhere. So don't be an illusion. Secondly, you got to understand that, and let's stop for a minute here and do our little mystical question. Think of your business. And now let's ask the mystic pyramid for some wisdom.
Now is not the right time.
Okay. Well, it may not be for your business, or you can interpret that in many ways, meaning the fact that it's going to take time to do things. And this is what it takes. There's an illusion that you somehow are going to use magical radionic type practices and you're going to be an instantaneous millionaire. Success is guaranteed. Just like some people will tell you that, well, if you get a gambling empowerment or amulet or cell, etc., well, these help you make you luckier. You can't make somebody win. And there's a lot of factors. This is illustrated in things like poker. Now, if you're a person who just basically knows poker and you go down and play poker and empower yourself, well, you probably do kind of okay. But you're going against professionals, people who know the game. And if you don't know the game, you don't know how to bet, you don't know what position means, you don't know what your cards means, you're not doing a little bit of actual mathematics to figure out these things, particularly with poker, which can be quite scientific in its own way. Now, in the end, if you have the skills, the person with the luck or the empowerment will win. But you're not going to win over professionals because you just have a little bit of empowerment. You have to know what you're doing, be empowered with that to win. Now, that's not what you want to hear, of course. You want to just wave the wand, going over to the slot machine, put a coin in there, and boom, you win $1 million. Well, anybody who can do that certainly isn't going to share it, and they're certainly not going to share it for the pathetic amount of money that most people pay for rituals. So the whole idea is that you're certainly not going to happen. If anybody has that power, why would they personally do anything? And there's a lot of reasons why people who are empowered aren't as successful as others because of the fact they don't have the skill. Well, why don't you take your empowerment and make a lot of money? Well, I don't know anything about stock market. We've been trying to figure this out for years, including betting and everything else. But the bottom line is I would have to spend, and I couldn't find anybody of credibility, month after month learning the system, learning what stocks are, learning how to use it, and nobody does this. So again, if you expect to run a business, do other things, it's a full-time job to get into things. So you need professionals to help you. And that's, of course, why everybody goes to professionals, pays them a fee for their services. Now, there's always the $1 million question, and that's what I just touched on. Number one, if you're running a system where you are selling people information, well, if it's so good, why do you need to sell it? Just use it for yourself. Well, there are some realities to that. And there are realities to the fact of that you need to raise cash. And to do that, you have to sell a system. On the other hand, you think you'd be able to borrow, beg, and steal enough money to use a system where you have enough money to do that with. But that's not necessarily true. But the bottom line is that you need cash and nothing is 100%. If it was 100% with any system, any stock help, any gambling help, the person wouldn't really need to go out and sell their system. You would keep betting even small amounts, and then you would, or stock market, investing, and you would have enough money to do that with. Well, that's an arduous, difficult process, and nothing is 100%. So the whole idea is that you need to get capital in. You take your losses when it comes. Well, we don't know what happened there. Then you get your wins when you can. And if you have enough working capital, your wins should be significant enough that you can then jump up to that level of having lots of cash to be able to do what you have to do to be successful. But it is illogical. I've always been amused by the fact, and it used to be in the National Enquirer, that people would sell you the winning lotto numbers. I don't know how they ever got away with that. But I did talk to one person who did send that money in and said, why do you think they would possibly do that? Oh, they want to help people. So, well, I'm not sure you help people by giving out. And technically, the lotto numbers are only good for one person. More people can win. And of course, then the pot is cut into chunks. But if you're selling this to 200-300 people, well, that kind of defeats the purpose. But of course, it never wins. And this is the illusionary factor and also the control of the entire reality that we live in. If somebody can master anything and control it to the point of winning all the time, manifesting gold in front of them, well, gold would have no value. You'd have to be very secretive, and you would have to then only use it for yourself. So if you give people the winning lottery numbers, well, the lottery itself becomes worthless, doesn't it? So these are all things you're not going to get from anybody else because they don't speak truth. They just want to promise you a lot of fantasy and not give you reality. Well, what works? Now, I've been doing business success rituals for about 40 years and have always done well with them, particularly personally. But what does that mean? Well, I've always been able to take very low sales and add them up into additional sales. But this may not be enough of an empowerment Certainly when you go from 0 to 10, but is 10 enough to make it worthwhile? Well, I found this wasn't a problem. This was a problem because of the fact that I got all the business I could get in the little town that I own that had screen printing business I had. But there really wasn't enough in that little town. It wasn't enough to make serious money, and the expenses were very high. So ultimately, it was just not worth it, and there was no way of making any kind of serious money in screen printing. It's an idiot business. But that's another reality out there. Nobody really has to do that anymore. Get some other sucker and they make your t-shirts and bags or whatever you want to print things on. Someone else can do that. Spend your time on selling. And these are things people have to understand as well. So every high school dropout or D student was a screen printer, and they were by the gobs out there. And people are doing stuff for pennies because they use their big machines and so forth to give you a little insight there. But that's not important in the bigger picture. But what does that mean? But it does understand that, is that a good business to be into? Well, it isn't. You're never going to make a lot of money at it. It's near impossible. And as usual, most things in businesses such as that and other ones are all fixed. People get contracts because people know someone, they have an insight. It's the same old story. Had nothing to do with quality or anything else. It's all the who you know, as most of life is. But the whole idea is that how do you empower something? So there is a multi-level of what you've got to do for anything you want to achieve in life. And that is the fact is that you have to be actively participating in doing whatever that is. If you're sitting on your couch expecting to meet somebody, eating Cheetos and watching Zorro, you are not going to meet anybody. So, but the contention, I'm sure, of most people is that, well, if I went out and did things, why do I need to empower myself? Why do I need radionics? Why do I need basic magical practices? Because that guarantees you nothing. If you go out and just try and meet people or just try and generate business, or you just, let's say you place a whole bunch of ads. A lot of people have placed ads for their products and businesses and they don't get anything back from it. Well, they haven't empowered those ads. And that's the key. Everything you do in life, you have to empower. So the whole idea is that nothing is guaranteed in life. And if it was, you wouldn't be able to afford those people that have that kind of power, and they certainly most likely wouldn't be selling it or using it for others. And as I mentioned, if they did, it would be very expensive. So what you've got to do out there is empower what you do. So if you do something, and you've got to do it right. Did you place ads in the right place? Is your website good? Is your sales pitch good? Are all these things something that you know how to do? Now, most people start businesses and everything else, particularly from the ground up, and you have absolutely no idea. I mean, I've radically changed everything I've done in the last couple of years, even though I've been in business for 40 years. The websites are different. Everything changes. There are new services people offer. You can multi-list. There are new places popping up. You have to get rid of old places. I mean, eBay is one of the horriblest places to sell, and they're such a weird company. But there are now people where you can sell stuff in other areas, which is relatively new. What's not? What are all these Mercier or whatever it is? There are ways to do that, and there never really was any viable auction sites other than eBay. And to some extent, it's still the case. But there's all sorts of problems there. Is that the best place? But I don't want to get into individual discussions here. So the whole idea is that you have to figure out where your markets are and you have to hone it. What are you doing? Do you know anything about it? Do you know anything about your website design? It's always costly to hire others. Sometimes it's helpful. I found that the so-called experts aren't very expert and they don't really give you much help, but these are things to look into. What does your website look like? I used to go over every single word on my website. I did this recently. And then we started, I used to write long explanations, and I don't think anybody really read these. So I went in and started knocking out paragraphs, getting things down to the bare minimum. I used to have half a page explaining something, which the type of products that I sell, I think is good, but that's old style. People are not going to spend that time. Why can't you get your message across in a soundbite? And is it clear? And how do you know it's clear? Well, you think it's clear because you know the subject matter. If someone else goes there, do they get it? Well, in many instances, they do not. So we have to be very understanding that as well. Are you a good speaker for your organization? Are you coming off right? Are you good at explaining things? Now, when you do things in a quote professional manner, people write scripts for you. Nobody does it off the top of their head, and very few people can do it off the top of their head. I've done this all my life, particularly because I'm so dyslexic that I kind of perfected this. Because writing it down is arduous. But most people and anything that's done in, quote, Hollywood is done a scripted, you read the words somebody else read. I don't know how many people understand that. Generally, any serious writer, producer, or director of anything, whether it's an info commercial or a movie, doesn't want you going out and making up your own words. I spent time writing this stuff to get the impressions I want. You're supposed to sell my words, not make up your own. So, and this is usually what happens because, quite frankly, people that are MCs are just vacuous morons, and the same thing with actors. Actors have to take what's there and make it believable, which is quite different than writing their own stuff. They may have their own personal input. They may find out, well, I can sell this better if I say this. And if there are writers on set, so to speak, or even if it was an info commercial, well, you could discuss that and say, well, gee, you're right. You do it that way, and it's better than what I wrote, and it's getting the same, information across that I want to. So these are all the things. What is it looking like? Are you doing things in a proper way that your particular statement, your voice, how you're looked at when you're filming, is all this it? And are you saying the right things in terms of that? Are you selling it in a particular way? Now, everybody in life, and I design and engineer products so that people can use them easily. Nobody wants to learn anything. You tell somebody they have to learn something, do this technique, learn how to use a particular technology. Nobody's too thrilled about that, even if you give them a course for free. I don't want to learn how to do that. I just want to jump into it. And when I first started off, I never wanted to hear philosophy about any of this stuff. Just give me the practical ways of doing things. Now, this is, of course, kind of childish, and I found in life you have to learn the bigger picture of it. Understanding how something works when you use it tends to make it work better. So it's a critical aspect that everybody has to figure out and know what's going on with it as well. There are multi-layers to things. Everybody wants the magic lamp. Well, here it is. I'm going to pay you. Let's rub the magic lamp and pop up what I need. Business sales, relationships, stock market wins. All this is the bigger picture that everybody wants. But the reality is things are not that easy. I make things as easy as possible, and all my tools are designed to empower people very simply. But high-level results are gotten by people that take care of many things. So if you want to empower yourself success in pretty much anything, you need tools to do that as well. It's certainly always nice to have rituals done. We're trying to price rituals for people now inexpensively, so they can always have that little flow of positive energies, whether it's uncrossing or other things. So, for $15, $20 a month, you can get a simple little ritual that is for a particular purpose that you and others are put in the particular ritual temple, kind of something like this. But the whole idea is that you have to do things yourself because you have to put more energy into it. You have the dedication. It's always difficult for others to manifest for you. While we go in with strong powers, there are many, many things that have to go on to accomplish these things. So if you're not doing marketing, if you don't know how to do marketing, you got a bad website, if you're explaining your product poorly, not using keywords, telling people things they don't want to hear, well, you're not going to get sales. So people want quick, easy results. They want with my done-for-you systems, which I've kind of always liked that. But the whole idea is that I've always produced things that are kind of done for you. But the bottom line is that if you're using radionics and our cells and other things, and you haven't taken the centering course, are not working with mind gym type tools, your results are not going to be as great as someone who does. And your results are going to be dependent on many areas, and your results aren't going to be that great. You have to learn how to use unique tools. So it's like learning how to do anything. You have to build the muscles, the understanding, etc. This helps the entire process. Nobody wants to hear that. They want quick and simple. I certainly understand that, and I think there's levels of this. But if you want great returns, you have to put in great amounts of energy and invest in proper tools. Now, everybody needs to be doing radionic type device using one of our many energy cells to start off with, which is very easy. You just throw in the thought form by holding the energy cell, put in there what you want, ABC business made, and you should be kind of specific, is going to make $5,000 this month. And you put that in there and you do that daily. You take that energy, you shoot it into your third eye, you use your wrist lasers. You are now vibrating, drawing that success energy to you. And that's how all the cells work, depending on what you want to pull into you. Protection, uncrossing, etc. Well, you've got to have that energy in your energetic fields of your bio body going all the time. So these tools have been used, and specifically at the very high levels that they are, by the fact of what they are. And they've been designed and tested for many years. All of this stuff works. Now, the point is, does it work to the level you want it? Well, I thought I'd be a millionaire. Well, that's all well and good, but the bottom line is that, are you doing the things to become a millionaire? Is there ways for large amounts of money to come to you? And this is one of the big problems with most people. If you work a regular job, there's no way you're going to get huge increases in general. Even though we've had people that have jumped up $15,000, $20,000, they get $2,000, $3,000 bonuses. This is very much within a real job. Now, you're not going to get that at a lower level. You're going to have to be in at least middle management if you expect to get thousands of dollars worth of bonuses, opportunities for better positions. And this is about making sure you've positioned yourself with real life things, meaning you're in a company that can happen, and then you empower. Now, I have a person doing this right now and has done amazingly well at it because he's smart. He invests a lot of money in tools, but he's not trying to become rich working at McDonald's. He works for a good company that he has the potential to make hundreds of thousands of dollars with. He started at that company with excellent money, particularly for his age, right out of college, making big wages, and now has opportunities to go up yet again using his machines, his psi generator, his radionic machines, and the numerous amulets that he has. He's invested in it, and he's invested lots of money in it. Well, that's an investment. How many things have you bought in your life that you use for a while and throw away? How many things have you invested in? How much money have you lent to buddy, friends, and family that has never been returned? Well, the point is, when you get a Radionic Tech product, you've got a lifetime tool that's going to assist you, and you have to use them constantly. That's how life is. There is no pass the, do a little ritual, bring in the spirits who are going to take care of your life. This is the fantasy stuff, and the people that claim to have been ritual magicians of such great power, well, where are they? Aleister Crowley, the goofball that he was a giant loser. He never achieved anything. He had, I believe, 8 or 9 law cases that he was involved in, and he only won one of those. So, where's his empowerment? And generally, law cases are something there is an opening in that can be manifested easier than others because it's a judgment thing, unless there's some sort of rigged situation. And of course, the problem with legal cases now is they're basically all rigged. So if you go against a big corporation, or there's some sort of mortgage problem with the criminal banks, you still can manipulate things. But you got to remember the fix is in. So the whole idea is that we all have to understand the reality of these things that go on. And putting together a complete system, getting the tools you need are not expenses. Advertising doesn't cost you in a business. Advertising pays you. So it's as simple as that. So, and the more you advertise in different areas, you got to find your market. Do you know where your market is? Well, this is all basic business stuff. Now, we teach a little bit of this in our all-access membership. We have a business school because there are many different things for certain organizations that are problematical. If you're in a particular industry, psychics, gambling, and so many other areas, Your average processor will not take your order. They will not process it. So Square, what is the other one out there? All these rotten companies that will not process because they think it's some risk. But what they do is they take you on initially, suck some money off you, and then they drop you with a going active business, and then you have problems doing that. So you have to, these are regular business things. You're making a lot of money, but nobody can send you that money because you don't know what's going on there. And how are you supposed to? So it's all very confusing, and running a business is complicated unto itself. So there's ground level things that you have to understand to do it. Do you have a good website? Does it function right? Are all your buttons working? Have you went in there like most people that have websites, even myself? Well, I don't go in there and check whether the order process works. Are people able to do things? It's amazing how certain things happen where people can't place orders, or there's some sort of problem, or maybe you have zero inventory when you really have inventory of that item. These are all the things that are just common business practices that you understand. Do your links work? Are you checking them? So these are all the things that happen and part of the things that drag you down in normal business. So these are the things you have to understand of how to do things. Where is your website? Are you using websites that particular to Shopify? Everybody's on Shopify, and what does that do for you? Well, what it does for you is that everybody can offer you unique services there. Ways of getting things listed, advertising, etc. So, you have to follow the crowd to get certain benefits. If you're not there, then you tend to run into problems. And you don't get the kind of services, and I have this problem right now with my website hosting, that not too many people work with that, even though there are hundreds of thousands of people using these different places, but everybody's on Shopify, so they're not going to build it to work with other things. And of course, that's a bad business decision on their part as well. But the point is that you should be using your cells in particular. You should be using rate cards, and of course, the MECTEC cells, manifesting energy cells, are critical. This is the easy way of doing it. Trying to do other procedures is very complicated. Anytime you have to start dialing radionic machines, things get difficult, which is the reason why we don't quite offer them that much today, and we have to have much more support for them as we go on here. And of course, we are working on all this, but we're trying to do it for you. A done for you system. You buy the custom made radionic rate card and you're ready to go. Why do it yourself? You don't have the skill to do that. So you need others to do it for you. Now, one thing that people should follow up, as well as doing the regular stuff, is everybody should be setting up, and we'll show you right here. And we've done this in a few other things. There's so many things that you need to ensure your success. Now, let's move this in. And there are lots of things, and these aren't just some sort of gimmicks. Things like this right here. Now, this produces and clears your environment to allow manifesting energies to come to you personally, no matter what that's for, whether it's healing, whether it's business success, whether it's uncrossing. Well, this and a very particular tool, and these are now in our whole new system, because what you're going to get with something like this is special energy discs that actually you place under them. There's no need any further to have things glued on here like you're going to have discs that are inserted here. Let me see if I can just get a general disc and see where that goes. What did I do here? But you get a general disc. These are the actual types of disc we use. But these will come in with special codes on them. You can see the radionic code here that you will insert underneath here for uncrossing, protection, etc. And this will then take this energy that is clearing in general and add in a specific type of clearing that tends to help dramatically. But these are the type of things to invest in. And because of our new systems of doing things, we're going to be able to try and keep our prices down on these things as well by cutting out middleman, which we'll no longer need when we use a particular disc system. So all of that we have to take into consideration of the bigger picture of what you're doing. So having tools like this is very expensive to start off with. But I don't know, very expensive. It's an investment in your life. You invest in a lot of things, you buy things, you waste money on going out to dinner, doing whatever it is people waste their money on. And when you add this stuff up, it becomes quite profound. These are lifetime tools. These will last you a lifetime. You need these to empower your entire life. Can you put a price on that? Well, hell no. And as long as you're buying valid equipment from a valid organization like Radionic Tech, you have nothing to worry about. These are things that are going to help you for the rest of your life. Now, if you buy junk from other people, well, you're going to get junk. And you're not going to get good results. So remember that, and there are no credible organizations out there that I have found except Radionic Tech. The rest of them, they're all con artists. They're ripping you off. And all the people that's selling you a bill of goods that do absolutely nothing. And of course, they have their little followers that swear by them, which is completely, totally unprovable, like all the people who die from cancer that are using all this crap radionic equipment out there. Some of the radionic equipment or the orgone equipment is actually killing people. It's not a joke out there, people. Be aware and informed. Only support credible people. And at this particular point, I don't recommend anybody because I can't find any credible people. Even people that have okay technologies, well, they're kind of weak and pathetic. You don't need any of that crap. Stay with people who know what they're doing and use our new disc system, which will be able to have multiple discs like this. And you'll constantly be able to upgrade your equipment by just getting a new disc, which will be very affordable. So once we get into that, the other thing that you need to do, you've got your cells and other things, is you should get yourself, these are basic little temples. Now, basic little temples like this are this is a candle lantern. And you can get these anywhere around the world. You can spend lots of money, get simple ones. They have big ones, they have small ones. This is kind of a medium size, I don't know, what's that, about a foot, 10 inches. And you use, of course, always use tea lights such as this. These are tea lights. These are 8-hour tea lights. This is what I like to use now because you get a long burn with this instead of the usual 2 to 4 that you can buy commercial. Now, these are pretty inexpensive that you can get. I think they're anywhere from 5 to 10 cents. And you particularly... so you can burn that in here. And these are very safe. Now, having candle flame out in your house can be dangerous. They can be knocked over. These are burning for 8 hours, so it's a long period of time. So you're not going to pay attention to them too easily. So the whole idea is you can't sit there next to them waiting for them to burn out. So putting them in a safe lantern like this is very important and very safe. These have glass on the side. They're metal. This is where you put your picture. This is a particular type of light that you can put any color. I like to use these, but they're kind of a little pain because these work by remote controls and you can dial in the lights you want. The problem is batteries don't last very long and it becomes wasteful. So I use rechargeable batteries, and I generally, if you're doing it for yourself, you can take the time to have a light going all the time. But let's say you were trying to send prosperity or business empowerment. Well, you would tune this to green. And I'll go into greater detail with this stuff other places. And of course, we do this on Patreon and All Access. So make sure you join that and make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. You then put your photograph on top of the light there. The other thing you'll then do, and you should always, when you use tea lights, put them in some sort of candle holder. I've had these for years, and these even were able to put regular taper candles in there, but you don't use those. They're toxic, expensive, etc. All you need is a good tea light. And this also allows you to particularly write on the side of it. Now, you generally put on symbols that mean prosperity, etc. One of them, of course, the runic symbols are great for this because they're so easy to do. So if you're going to bring money to someone, you would use the money symbol. Or what do we have as a money symbol? The dollar sign. And you write things like money now, success now. And you can also put a figure in there. Let's say you wanted $1,000 to make this week. So you should try and be precise and see how close to that number you can get. Just saying, bring me money, what does that mean? Bring me success. Well, these are all the kind of things that start to confuse the magical stream of empowerment. And this becomes kind of strange, interesting, and fun to a certain degree. The other thing you do is then you use one of our oils. And it's very important that you use Radionic Tech oils. They come in, this is one of the smaller bottles, but they come with these special applicators. And these bottles will last you at least a year, even if you use them daily. So it's a very nice thing. And also our